Kira stood on the bridge of her ship and watched the small blue planet turn slowly in the darkness of space. She had seen many worlds like this one during her long career as an ambassador for the Galactic Council. Most planets with life were green or red or purple, but this one was mostly blue with white clouds and brown patches of land. The planet was called Earth by the creatures that lived there. The Council had been watching them for 50 years now, ever since their radio signals first reached the outer listening posts. The signals were primitive but showed promise. The humans, as they called themselves, were making progress in technology and science. Kira adjusted her silver uniform and walked to the communication station. Her assistant, a young Velthari named Moth, looked up from his screens with excited eyes. "Ambassador, we are receiving responses to our greeting message," Moth said. "The humans want to talk," Kira smiled. This was always the best part of first contact. New species were usually amazed and grateful when the Council reached out to them. The offer to join the galactic community was always welcomed with joy and celebration. "Put them through," Kira said. The main screen flickered and showed a human face. The creature had dark hair and brown eyes. It wore a simple blue uniform with symbols that meant nothing to Kira. The human looked calm, which was unusual. Most new species were either terrified or overwhelmed during first contact. "I am D, representative of the United Earth Government," the human said. "We received your message about the Galactic Council. Thank you for making contact with us." Kira stepped forward and gave the formal greeting she had used hundreds of times before. "Greetings, Representative Day. I am Ambassador Kira of the Velthari people and the Galactic Council. We welcome you to the galactic community. Your species has shown great promise and we are here to offer you membership in our peaceful federation." Day nodded politely. "We appreciate the offer, Ambassador Kira. Can you tell us more about what membership involves?" This was normal. New species always had questions. Kira activated her presentation and began explaining the benefits of Council membership: advanced technology, peaceful trade, protection from hostile forces, and guidance in developing their civilization. The Council has helped over 300 species reach their full potential, Kira explained. "We share technology, knowledge, and resources. War and conflict become things of the past. Your people would have access to medicine that could end all disease, energy systems that would never run out, and transportation that could take you to any world in the galaxy." Day listened without interruption. When Kira finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that surprised her. "What do you want in return?" Kira blinked. "I'm sorry? What does Earth need to give the Council in exchange for membership?" Day asked. "Well, new member species usually contribute their unique knowledge and resources to the common good," Kira said, "and they follow Council guidelines for development and peaceful interaction." Guidelines? The Council has learned much about how civilizations should grow and develop over thousands of years. We help new species avoid the mistakes that lead to war, environmental damage, and social problems. Dai was quiet again. Then he said, "We need time to discuss this with our people. How long do we have to decide?" Kira was puzzled. No species had ever asked for time before. Usually they accepted immediately or asked more questions about the benefits. "There is no rush," she said. "Take all the time you need. Though I should mention that species who delay too long sometimes find it harder to integrate later." "We understand," Day said. "We will contact you again soon." The screen went dark. Kira stared at it in confusion. "That was strange," Moth said. They didn't seem excited at all. Kira had to agree. In her 200 years as an ambassador, she had never seen such a calm response to the Council's offer. Most species celebrated for days when they learned about the galactic community. 3 days later, Day contacted them again. This time, he wasn't alone. 2 other humans appeared on the screen with him. One was a woman with short black hair who wore a military uniform. The other was a man in civilian clothes who looked like a scientist. "Ambassador Kira," Day said, "I would like you to meet Captain Wook of our space fleet and Dr. Hana, our lead researcher on alien technology." Kira nodded to both of them. "Welcome. Have you made a decision about Council membership?" "We have," Day said. "We appreciate your offer, but we must decline at this time." Kira felt like she had been struck by lightning. "Decline? I don't understand. Are there specific concerns we can address?" Captain Wook spoke for the first time. Ambassador, we have studied your offer carefully. While the benefits are impressive, we believe humanity should develop on its own timeline. We prefer to maintain our independence. But you would develop so much faster with our help, Kira said. Why choose the difficult path when we can show you an easier one? Dr. Hana leaned forward. Ambassador, we have been studying the wreckage of one of your scout probes that crashed on our planet 5 years ago. We have learned much from it. Kira's blood went cold. Scout probes were supposed to be undetectable and self-destructing if damaged. We have improved our technology significantly by studying your systems. Hana continued. Your probe's power source, navigation systems, and communication array have all been reverse engineered. We are not as primitive as you might think. Captain Wook smiled, and there was something dangerous in that smile. In fact, we have already begun testing ships with technology based on your designs. We should be able to travel between star systems within the next few years. Kira felt the ground shifting under her feet. This had never happened before. The scout probes were supposed to be impossible for primitive species to understand. How many of your people know about this? She asked. All of them, Day said simply. We don't keep secrets about things this important. Every human on Earth knows about your technology and your offer. Kira realized that everything had just changed. The humans weren't just declining membership. They were telling the Council that they had stolen advanced technology and didn't need help anymore. I must report this to the Council, Kira said. They will want to discuss this situation. Of course, Day said. We look forward to hearing from them. In the meantime, we will continue developing our own path forward. The screen went dark again. Kira stood in silence for a long moment. Ambassador, Moth said quietly, what do we do now? Kira didn't answer. For the first time in her career, she didn't know what came next. The humans had just done something impossible. They had said no to the Galactic Council, and somehow Kira had the feeling that this was only the beginning. 5 years had passed since the humans said no to the Galactic Council. Ambassador Kira returned to the edge of human space with a heavy heart. The Council had spent those years trying to understand what went wrong with First Contact. They had never failed to bring a new species into the fold before. The reports from the border regions were troubling. Human ships had been spotted in neutral space, trading with independent colonies and non-council species. Somehow they had developed faster than light travel, even faster than the Council's experts thought possible. Kira's ship approached Earth again, but this time she was not alone. 3 Council cruisers accompanied her. A show of strength meant to remind the humans that they were still dealing with a superior force. Ambassador, we're receiving a transmission from Earth, her communications officer reported. Put it through, Kira said. The face that appeared on screen was new to her, a young woman with bright eyes and a confident smile. She wore a neat gray uniform with symbols that Kira now knew meant Diplomatic Corps. Welcome back, Ambassador Kira. I am Sue, Earth's diplomatic attaché. We have been expecting you. Attaché Sue, Kira said formally. The Galactic Council requests a meeting to discuss recent developments in this region of space. Of course, Sue said. Would you prefer to meet on Earth or at our new orbital station? Kira paused. Orbital station? Sue's smile widened. Yes, we completed construction last year. It's much more convenient for meetings with off-world visitors. I think you'll find it interesting. An hour later, Kira found herself aboard a human space station that should not have existed. The technology was clearly based on the captured probe, but the humans had improved it in ways that made her uncomfortable. The station was larger than many council outposts and bustled with activity. Sue led her through corridors filled with humans working on projects Kira couldn't identify. She caught glimpses of laboratories, workshops, and what looked like weapons testing areas. Impressive, isn't it? Sue said. Jin, our chief engineer, designed most of the improvements himself. Would you like to meet him? They entered a workshop where a man in his 30s was examining what looked like a ship's engine. When he looked up, Kira saw the same confident expression she was beginning to associate with all humans. Ambassador Kira, Jin said, wiping his hands on a cloth. Sue told me you were coming. What do you think of our quantum tunnel drive? Kira stared at the engine. Quantum tunnel drive? Jin's breakthrough, Sue explained. It makes our ships about 30% faster than anything the Council uses. We've been very excited about the possibilities. Jin nodded enthusiastically. The probe you lost taught us a lot about basic faster-than-light travel, but your people were thinking too small. We figured out how to compress the space-time tunnel itself, which dramatically increases speed. Kira felt sick. The Council's own scientists had been working on that theory for decades without success. Of course, we're happy to trade this technology with anyone interested, Sue said casually. We believe in free exchange of ideas. The Council would be very interested in that technology, Kira said carefully. Wonderful, Jin said. We'd love to work with your scientists. All we ask in return is full access to Council scientific databases and the right to continue our independent development. I'm afraid that's not how technology sharing works in the Council, Kira said. Advanced technology must be carefully regulated to prevent misuse. Jin and Sue exchanged a look. Then Jin shrugged. Well, that's unfortunate, but we understand if the Council isn't interested in mutual cooperation. Before Kira could respond, Sue's communication device chimed. She listened for a moment, then smiled apologetically. I'm sorry, Ambassador, but I need to take this call. It's from one of our colony worlds. Colony worlds? Kira asked. Oh yes, Sue said. We've established several colonies in the past 2 years. Nothing major, just small settlements on unclaimed worlds. Jin, could you show the Ambassador our newest one? The one Ray is managing? The main screen in the workshop activated, showing a view from space of a green and brown planet. Ships moved in orbit around it, clearly human in design but much larger than anything Kira had seen before. This is Kepler 442b, Jin explained. We call it New Busan. Ray and her team have been there for 18 months now. Kira stared at the planet. According to Council records, Kepler 442b was classified as uninhabitable due to its harsh weather and dangerous radiation levels. How many people live there? She asked. About 50,000 now, Jin said proudly. Ray started with just 200 volunteers, but word spread about the opportunities. People like the frontier life. The screen switched to show the surface of the planet. Kira saw a thriving city with tall buildings, green parks, and busy streets. Ships landed and took off from a large spaceport. The radiation levels that were supposed to make the planet deadly were nowhere to be seen. How did you solve the radiation problem? Kira asked. What radiation problem? Jin looked genuinely confused. Our surveys showed normal levels. Maybe your data was old? A new voice came from the screen. A woman with short hair appeared, wearing practical work clothes and a big smile. Ambassador Kira, the woman said. I'm Ray, Governor of New Busan. Welcome to our little corner of the galaxy. Are you planning to visit? We'd love to show you around. Governor Ray, Kira said slowly. This planet was marked as uninhabitable in Council records. Ray laughed. Well, somebody made a mistake then. We've got perfect weather, rich soil, and beautiful sunsets. In fact, we're starting to get visitors from other species who heard about our success. 3 different non-Council species have asked about setting up trade agreements. Kira's mind raced. If humans were establishing successful colonies and making trade agreements with non-Council species, it would upset the careful balance of power in this region of space. What kind of trade agreements? She asked. Oh, nothing fancy, Ray said. We trade our improved ship engines and advanced farming techniques for rare minerals and cultural exchanges. Everyone benefits. One species even asked if they could send their young people here to study our methods. Sue returned from her call with an apologetic smile. Sorry about that. Where were we? We were discussing your colony worlds, Kira said. How many do you have now? 7, with 3 more planned for next year, Sue said. All in unclaimed space, of course. We're very careful about respecting existing territorial claims. Kira knew that wasn't quite true. 2 of the worlds humans had claimed were in areas the Council considered their sphere of influence, even if they hadn't formally claimed them. The Council is concerned about rapid expansion without proper oversight, Kira said. Oversight? Jin asked. We're not expanding into anyone else's territory. We're just settling empty worlds. Expansion without guidance can lead to problems, Kira explained. The Council has experience in managing galactic development. Sue nodded thoughtfully. We appreciate the concern, Ambassador, but we believe each species should be free to develop at their own pace. Isn't that what freedom means? The question hung in the air. Kira realized that the humans weren't just rejecting Council membership anymore. They were rejecting the entire concept of guided development that had kept the galaxy peaceful for thousands of years. I need to report these developments to the Council, Kira said. Of course, Sue said. Please give them our regards, and let them know that our offer of technology sharing remains open. We believe cooperation is better than competition. As Kira left the human station, she couldn't shake the feeling that everything was changing. The humans weren't just building ships and colonies. They were building a different kind of civilization, one that didn't need the Council's guidance, and other species were starting to pay attention. The emergency session of the Galactic Council lasted for 3 days. Ambassador Kira sat in the Great Chamber on Velthar Prime, watching as representatives from 300 species argued about what to do with the humans. High Counselor Zenth, leader of the oldest member species, stood at the center of the chamber. His voice carried the weight of 5,000 years of galactic peace. "The situation has become unacceptable," Zenth announced. "The humans continue to expand without guidance. They share advanced technology with non-council species. They ignore our territorial guidelines. This cannot continue." Kira wanted to speak, but she knew her words would fall on deaf ears. The council had made its decision before the session even began. "We offer them one final chance," Zenth continued. "Join the council under our terms or face the consequences. No species has ever been allowed to operate independently in council space. We will not start now." The vote was unanimous. For the first time in council history, they would use military force to bring a species into compliance. Admiral Kesh of the Council Defense Forces stood up. "We will assemble the largest peacekeeping fleet in galactic history. 200 ships representing 50 member species. The humans will see the combined might of galactic civilization and understand that resistance is futile." Kira closed her eyes. She had tried to warn them that the humans were different, but no one had listened. Now they would learn the hard way. 2 months later, the council fleet arrived at the edge of human space. Admiral Kesh commanded from the flagship, a massive dreadnought that could destroy entire cities with a single shot. Around him floated ships from across the galaxy, a show of force that had never failed to intimidate. The humans were waiting for them. Admiral Tay of the Human Defense Force appeared on the communication screen. He was older than the other humans Kira had met, with gray hair and scars on his face that spoke of past battles. "Admiral Kesh," Tay said calmly, "we received your ultimatum. Our answer remains the same. We choose independence." "Admiral Tay," Kesh replied, "you are surrounded by the combined forces of 300 species. Your small fleet cannot hope to match our firepower. Surrender now and your people will be treated with mercy." Tay smiled, and it was not a pleasant smile. "Admiral, you seem to think this is about firepower. It's not. This is about will. Will cannot stop plasma cannons," Kesh said. "We'll see," Tay replied, and the screen went dark. The battle began at dawn on Earth's time. The Council fleet moved in perfect formation, following tactics that had kept the galaxy peaceful for millennia. They expected the humans to meet them in traditional space combat, ship against ship in an organized engagement. The humans had other ideas. Instead of meeting the Council fleet head-on, the human ships scattered in all directions. They used hit-and-run tactics, striking at the edges of the formation and disappearing before the Council ships could respond. When cornered, they did things that violated every rule of civilized warfare. Human ships rammed Council vessels at full speed, sacrificing themselves to take down much larger enemies. They used suicide attacks, piloting damaged ships into the heart of Council formations. They targeted supply lines and support vessels instead of engaging in honorable combat. Lieutenant Yoon of Human Intelligence had infiltrated Council communication networks weeks before the battle. She fed false information to Council commanders, sending them to empty space while human forces attacked their undefended flanks. "This is madness," Admiral Kesh told his staff after the first day of fighting. "They're not following any known military doctrine." His aide, a young Velthari officer named Gil, looked pale. "Admiral, we captured a human pilot earlier. When we interrogated him, he just smiled and said his death would inspire 10 more fighters. Then he bit down on something hidden in his tooth and died before we could stop him." Kesh stared at the report. In 2,000 years of Council peacekeeping, no enemy had ever chosen death over capture. The battle continued for 6 days. The Council fleet was larger and better equipped, but the humans fought with a desperation that seemed impossible to break. They defended every planet, every station, every ship like it was the last thing standing between them and extinction. On the 4th day, Marine Bow led a team of human commandos in a direct assault on a Council supply depot. Instead of trying to capture it, they destroyed it completely along with themselves. The explosion took out 3 Council destroyers and damaged 5 more. Why do they keep doing this? Gil asked Admiral Kesh. They could surrender and be integrated peacefully. Kesh had no answer. Every Council simulation had shown that inferior forces would surrender when faced with overwhelming odds. The humans seemed to have never learned this basic military truth. On the 6th day, something happened that changed everything. A human transport ship, badly damaged and carrying civilian refugees, found itself surrounded by a Council battle group. The ship's captain, a young woman named Lee, received a surrender demand. Instead of giving up, Lee ordered her ship to ram the Council flagship. The transport ship was tiny compared to the massive Council dreadnought. It should have been like an insect hitting a wall, but Lee had loaded her ship with every explosive device her crew could find. When the transport hit the flagship, the explosion tore through 3 decks and left the great ship crippled. Gil watched from his post as the burning transport ship drifted past his view screen. Through the flames, he could see human faces pressed against the windows. They were not crying or begging for help. They were smiling. That night, Gil couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about those faces, about people who chose to die rather than accept Council protection. He had joined the defense forces to bring peace to the galaxy, but this didn't feel like peace. Admiral Kesh finally achieved his military objective. The human fleet was scattered, their major bases captured, their colonies occupied. By any measure, the Council had won a complete victory, but the cost was staggering. Half the Council fleet was destroyed or damaged beyond repair. Thousands of crew members were dead or wounded. The economic cost of the campaign would take decades to recover from, and the humans still refused to surrender. Even under occupation, they continued to resist. Every Council patrol faced ambushes. Every attempt to establish civilian government was met with sabotage. The humans had turned their defeat into a new kind of warfare. Yoon, now operating as a resistance leader, organized networks of cells that used the Council's own infrastructure against them. Human civilians who appeared to be cooperating during the day would plant bombs at night. Children threw rocks at Council soldiers. Old people spat at peacekeepers. They're making it impossible to govern them, Gil reported to Admiral Kesh. Every day we're here, we lose more soldiers to random attacks. The humans don't seem to understand that the war is over. Kesh looked out at the blue planet below his ship. Maybe they do understand, he said quietly. Maybe that's the problem. Back in the Council chambers, High Counselor Zenth read the casualty reports with growing alarm. The military victory was complete, but at what cost? 3 member species were threatening to leave the Council rather than pay for the occupation. Others were questioning why peaceful integration required such massive force, and disturbing reports were coming in from across the galaxy. Non-Council species that had witnessed the battle were drawing their own conclusions about Council methods. Some were canceling trade agreements. Others were increasing their military spending. Ambassador Kira stood before the Council one more time. The humans have been defeated, she reported. But they have not been broken. Occupation forces report continued resistance. The cost of maintaining control over human space may exceed the benefits of integration. Zenth nodded grimly. Continue the occupation. Eventually they will accept their place in the galactic community. But even as he said the words, Zenth wondered if that was true. The humans had done something unprecedented in galactic history. They had shown that the Council could be resisted, that the price of victory could be too high to pay, and other species were watching. 3 years had passed since the Council's victory over humanity. Admiral Kesh stood in his office aboard the occupation headquarters, looking down at reports that made his stomach turn. The humans were supposed to be defeated, but they acted like they had never heard the news. Every day brought new incidents. Yesterday, a human child had thrown acid at a Council patrol, scarring 2 soldiers for life. Last week, a group of human teachers had poisoned the food supply at a Council base, putting 50 peacekeepers in the hospital. This morning, 3 Council officers had disappeared while walking through what was supposed to be a pacified human city. Lieutenant Gil knocked on the door and entered. The young Velthari officer looked older now, his eyes haunted by 3 years of occupation duty. Admiral, we've received another message from the Resistance, Gil said, handing over a datapad. Kesh read the message and felt his blood run cold. It was from Nari, the human woman who had become the symbol of resistance across Earth. Her messages always found their way to every human on every occupied world. no matter how hard the council tried to stop them. People of Earth, the message began, they think they have won because they control our cities and our skies. But they will never control our hearts. Every day they stay, we grow stronger. Every day they stay, they grow weaker. Freedom is not something given by others. It is something we take for ourselves. How does she keep getting these messages out? Kesh asked. Gil shook his head. We don't know, sir. We've captured dozens of her supporters, but there always seem to be more. It's like every human is part of her network. Kesh put down the data pad and walked to his window. Below, he could see human civilians going about their daily lives under council rule. They worked in the factories, shopped in the markets, sent their children to school. From a distance, it looked like a peaceful, integrated society. But Kesh knew the truth. Every human down there was a potential enemy. Every smile was false. Every gesture of cooperation hid a plan for revenge. Sir, Gil said quietly, I've been thinking about requesting a transfer. Kesh turned to look at his aide. Why? Gil was quiet for a moment. Yesterday I had to arrest a human woman for possession of illegal weapons. She was old, maybe 70 years. When I put the restraints on her, she looked at me and said, You poor boy. You don't even know what you've done to yourselves. Then she started laughing. And? She laughed all the way to the detention center. Even when they put her in solitary confinement, we could hear her laughing through the walls. Gil looked up at his commander. Sir, what if she was right? What if we don't know what we've done? Before Kesh could answer, an alarm sounded throughout the building. Emergency broadcasts filled the air as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The hegemony of Tyal, a non-council species on the outer rim, had just declared independence from all galactic treaties. They cited the human resistance as proof that the council could be defeated. 3 council member species had simultaneously announced they were reviewing their membership status. And most shocking of all, the mining colonies of the Rigel system had openly rebelled, using weapons and tactics copied directly from human resistance manuals. High Counselor Zenth appeared on every screen in the building, his ancient face showing strain for the first time in decades. Citizens of the Galactic Council, Zenth announced, we face a crisis of authority. Rebellious elements across the galaxy have been inspired by the human resistance to challenge the established order. This cannot be tolerated. We are implementing emergency measures to restore stability. Kesh knew what that meant. More military action, more occupation forces, more young soldiers like Gil sent to fight wars that should never have started. Later that day, Kesh received a priority message from Earth's surface. Resistance leader Nari wanted to meet with him directly. Against all security protocols, Kesh agreed to the meeting. He found himself in an abandoned warehouse in what used to be New York City, facing a woman who looked nothing like the dangerous terrorist described in council reports. Nari was small and middle-aged, with gray hair and kind eyes. She could have been anyone's mother or teacher, but when she spoke, Kesh heard the voice that had inspired 3 years of unstoppable resistance. Admiral Kesh, Nari said, thank you for coming. I know this is dangerous for you. What do you want? Kesh asked. To show you something, Nari said. She activated a portable screen that displayed news reports from across the galaxy. Do you see what's happening out there? Your council is falling apart. Kesh watched reports of rebellions, protests, and independence movements spreading like wildfire through council space. Every one of them used human symbols, human tactics, human propaganda. You wanted to defeat us, Nari continued. But you couldn't kill an idea. The idea that people don't have to accept being ruled by others. The idea that freedom is worth dying for. The council brings peace and prosperity to the galaxy, Kesh said, but the words sounded hollow even to him. Nari smiled sadly. Admiral, you've been here for 3 years. Do you see peace? Do you see prosperity? Or do you see soldiers afraid to walk the streets and civilians who hate everything you represent? Kesh was quiet. He thought about Gil's request for a transfer, about the nightmares that kept him awake, about the reports of human children learning to make bombs instead of studying mathematics. What do you want from me? He asked. Nothing, Nari said. I want to show you what we've prepared. She led him through a hidden door into a laboratory that shouldn't have existed. Human scientists worked at stations filled with equipment Kesh didn't recognize. At the center of the room stood Dr. Yoon, the woman the council thought had died in the first week of occupation. Admiral, Dr. Yoon said politely, Welcome to our research facility. We've been working on some interesting projects. She gestured to a series of sealed containers on a nearby table. These contain biological agents specifically designed to target the immune systems of various council species: Velthari, Kalari, Zenthi, and 15 others. Each agent is perfectly tailored to be harmless to humans, but fatal to its target species. Kesh felt ice form in his stomach. That's impossible. No one has that level of biological knowledge. We learned from your own medical databases, Dr. Yoon explained. When you occupied our worlds, you brought your doctors and their equipment. We studied everything. We've had 3 years to prepare. Nari stepped forward. These agents have already been distributed throughout council space. Human sleeper cells have placed them in water supplies, air systems, and food distribution networks on 200 council worlds. You're bluffing, Kesh said. But he could hear the doubt in his own voice. Are we? Nari asked. She handed him a communication device. Contact your medical officers. Ask them about the strange illnesses that have been appearing in council populations over the past 6 months. Ask them why the symptoms don't match any known diseases. Kesh's hands shook as he activated the device. The reports that came back confirmed his worst fears. Unknown illnesses were indeed spreading through council space, targeting specific species while leaving others untouched. This is madness, Kesh whispered. You're talking about genocide. No, Nari said firmly. We're talking about mutual assured destruction. If you try to destroy us, we take you with us. If you leave us alone, everyone lives, Dr. Yoon nodded. The agents are designed to activate only if triggered by a specific signal. As long as that signal isn't sent, they remain harmless. But if anything happens to Earth's population, if you try to glass our worlds or eliminate our people, the signal will be transmitted automatically. Kesh stared at the 2 women who had just told him they were holding the entire galaxy hostage. The Council will never accept this. The Council doesn't have a choice, Nari said. You taught us that might makes right. Now we have the might. As Kesh left the warehouse, his mind raced with the implications of what he had learned. The humans hadn't just resisted occupation. They had turned it into a weapon that threatened the entire galactic order. That night, he sent a coded message to High Counselor Zenth. The message contained 2 words that would change the course of galactic history. We lost. The Council had won every battle, captured every world, defeated every human fleet, but somehow in the process they had lost something far more important. They had lost the belief that the Council's way was the only way, and across the galaxy, other species were learning that lesson too. Ambassador Kira sat alone in the Great Council chamber on Velthar Prime. The seats that had once held representatives from 300 species were now half empty. 57 species had left the Council in the past 2 years. Others remained but sent only junior diplomats instead of their senior ambassadors. She wore the silver crown of the Galactic Protector now, a title that meant she ruled what was left of the Council. It was not a position she had ever wanted. High Counselor Zenth had stepped down after the human crisis began, unable to bear the weight of what the galaxy had become. The door chimed, and her assistant announced the arrival of the human delegation. Kira straightened in her chair and tried to look dignified. It was important to maintain appearances even now. The humans who entered were not what she expected. Leading them was Jun, a young man in his 20s who wore a simple black suit instead of military uniform. Behind him walked Sol, a teenager who looked barely old enough to vote, let alone negotiate treaties. The third member of their delegation was an elderly woman Kira didn't recognize. Protector Kira, Jun said with a polite bow. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. I am Jun, Earth's chief negotiator. This is Sol, representing our youth council, and Dr. Min, our cultural advisor. Kira nodded stiffly. Negotiator Jun, please sit. The humans took their seats across from her. Jun opened a datapad and consulted it briefly before speaking. Protector Kira, we come here today to discuss the future relationship between humanity and the Galactic Council. As you know, the current situation benefits no one. Kira almost laughed. The current situation is entirely of your making. You rejected our offer of membership. You resisted our peacekeeping efforts. You corrupted other species with your philosophy of independence. Yes, Jun said simply. We did all of those things. The question is, what do we do now? Dr. Min leaned forward. She was Velthari, Kira realized with shock. A member of Kira's own species who had somehow ended up working for the humans. Protector, Dr. Min said in the familiar tones of their shared language. I have spent 5 years studying human culture. They are not evil or malicious. They simply have a different understanding of freedom than we do. You're a traitor, Kira said coldly. No, Dr. Min replied. I'm a scientist. And what I've learned is that the humans were right about something important. Forced peace is not real peace. It's just delayed conflict. Young Soul spoke for the first time. Her voice was calm and mature beyond her years. Protector Kira, my generation grew up during the occupation. We learned about war by living through it. Do you know what that taught us? Kira didn't answer. It taught us that violence is just another tool for achieving political goals, Soul continued. My classmates study military tactics alongside mathematics. We practice making explosives in the same workshops where we learn engineering. Your war didn't break us. It educated us. The word sent a chill through Kira's body. This teenager was talking about warfare like it was a normal part of education. Jun activated his datapad and projected a holographic display showing the current state of the galaxy. As you can see, Protector, the Council's authority has been severely undermined. Rebellions in 47 systems. 17 species have declared complete independence. Trade routes have been disrupted. The galactic economy is in crisis. Kira stared at the display. The neat, orderly galaxy she had known for 3 centuries was gone. In its place was a chaotic map of conflicts, neutral zones, and independent territories. This is what your resistance has accomplished, she said bitterly. Yes, June agreed, and it will only get worse unless we find a solution. What kind of solution? Jun leaned back in his chair and smiled. It was the same kind of smile Kira had seen on human faces for 8 years now. Confident and slightly dangerous. We propose full integration of humanity into the Galactic Council structure, he said. Kira blinked. What? Complete membership with full voting rights, representation in all council bodies, and access to all council resources and territories. That's what we offered you 8 years ago, Kira said, confused. Not quite, June said. 8 years ago you offered us membership as a junior species under council guidance. We're proposing membership as an equal partner with full autonomy. And if we refuse, Sol answered this time, then the galaxy continues to fall apart. More species leave the council. More rebellions break out. Eventually, there is no council left to refuse anything. Dr. Min nodded sadly. The humans didn't just resist your control, Protector. They proved it could be resisted. That knowledge has spread too far to contain now. June activated another display, this one showing human colonies and trade routes. We currently have diplomatic relations with 83 non-council species. 37 of them have asked about joining a human-led alliance. Our trade networks are growing faster than council commerce. You're blackmailing us, Kira said. No, June said. We're offering you a partnership. The alternative is watching the council collapse. Entirely while humanity builds something new from the pieces. Kira stood and walked to the great window that looked out over Felthar Prime. The capital city that had once been the center of galactic civilization looked smaller now, diminished by the chaos spreading across known space. What you're really saying, she said without turning around, is that we have to choose between sharing power with you or losing all our power to chaos. That's one way to put it, June admitted. Kira turned back to face the human delegation. And what guarantees do we have that humanity won't simply take over the council once you're members? Sol laughed, and the sound was genuinely amused rather than mocking. Protector, we don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want to be left alone to develop as we choose. Your council structure is actually pretty good for managing 300 different species. We just think it needs some improvements. Such as, Jun consulted his datapad again. Voluntary membership instead of mandatory integration. Technology sharing instead of technology control. Defensive alliances instead of enforced peace. Basically a federation of equals instead of a hierarchy with the council at the top. That would change everything, Kira said. Yes, Dr. Min agreed. It would change everything back to what it should have been from the beginning. Kira looked at the 3 humans sitting calmly in chairs that had once held representatives of the most powerful species in the galaxy. A young negotiator, a teenage student, and a traitor scientist. They didn't look like conquerors or terrorists. They looked like people who had already won and were now trying to figure out what to do with their victory. I need time to consider this proposal, Kira said finally. Of course, Jun said, standing. But I should mention that our offer has a time limit. The longer the current chaos continues, the less reason we have to preserve the council structure at all. As the humans left, Kira remained standing at the window. Down in the city, she could see Velthari citizens going about their daily lives, unaware that their way of life was ending. The humans had done something unprecedented in galactic history. They had shown that the council could be defeated without destroying it, that authority could be challenged without causing total chaos. Other species across the galaxy were learning that lesson and applying it to their own situations. 3 days later, Kira signed the treaty that granted humanity full council membership with autonomous status. As she placed the seal on the document, she thought about the title of the memoir she would never write. We endured the humans, but at what cost? The cost, she realized, was the illusion that peace could be imposed from above. The cost was the belief that stability required submission. The cost was everything that had made the council feel superior to the species they claimed to protect. The humans had won, not by destroying the council, but by forcing it to become something different. Something better, perhaps, but also something that no longer belonged to the species who had built it. Outside her window, the first human ships began arriving in Velthar Prime's orbit. They came not as conquerors, but as partners, ready to help build whatever came next. But Kira couldn't shake the feeling that what came next would be shaped more by human ideas than by the ancient wisdom of the council. The galaxy would be free, independent, and chaotic, and somehow that frightened her more than any war ever could.